Am I the a-hole for cutting my dad out of my life because he married the woman who hated my mom? When I, 24F, was 14, my entire world fell apart. My mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, and just 3 months later, she was gone. There's no easy way to describe what that kind of loss does to a kid. I remember sitting in the sterile hospital room, holding her cold hand, trying to memorize the way her voice sounded when she said my name. I still hear it sometimes, faintly, when I dream. She was only 41. The weeks after her funeral were a blur of casseroles, hugs that felt too tight, and people saying things like, "She's in a better place," or, "At least she's not suffering anymore." None of it helped. The house felt haunted, not by ghosts, but by her absence. Her scent on the pillows, her handwriting on sticky notes, the unfinished jigsaw puzzle on the coffee table. I couldn't even walk past her closet without crying.
My dad was shattered too.
I'll never forget the way he sat at the kitchen table every night, staring into nothing, a half-drunk cup of coffee in front of him. For a while, we didn't talk much. He did what a lot of grieving adults do. He tried to hold everything together while quietly falling apart. And I get that now, but back then I just wanted my mom. My mom had worked at this small marketing firm for almost 10 years. She loved her job. She used to bring home samples of campaigns she worked on, tell me stories about her coworkers, and even joke about office drama. But one name always came up with a certain tone: Dora. According to Mom, Dora was her workplace rival. She was older, had been with the company longer, but somehow never got promoted. Mom once said, "It's like no matter what Dora does, she's waiting for me to fail, so she can gloat." I didn't fully understand it then, I was just a kid, but I could tell it really got under her skin. There was a bitterness there, an unspoken history that made even Mom's usually gentle face tighten whenever Dora came up. When Mom got her final promotion, Dora made her life hell. That's what Mom told me one night when she came home in tears. She said Dora spread rumors, tried to take credit for her work, and would mutter snide things under her breath during meetings. My mom wasn't confrontational, but she was proud, and it hurt her deeply. And then Mom got sick. The whole office rallied around her. Coworkers visited, sent flowers, brought food, and signed a huge card that I still have. Every single person in that office signed it. Everyone except Dora. When Mom died, nearly the entire office came to her funeral. I remember seeing familiar faces from photos Mom had shown me, all dressed in black, crying, hugging my dad. Everyone except Dora. That alone would have been enough to show what kind of person Dora was. But a few days after the funeral, I was on Mom's Facebook page, rereading her old posts, just trying to feel close to her again, when I saw a comment that made my blood run cold. It was from Dora. She'd written, "Guess she finally got what she deserved. Maybe now the rest of us can breathe again. Hope she rots in hell." I remember staring at the screen, my hands shaking so hard I could barely take a screenshot. I showed it to my dad, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. I thought he'd lose it. I thought he'd storm over to that woman's house and scream at her for saying something so vile about his dead wife. He did look horrified. He even said, "That's disgusting," and told me to try to forget it. But he didn't do anything.
He didn't comment.
He didn't confront her. He didn't report it. He just said, "Some people are cruel, sweetheart. Don't let them win by giving them your peace." That comment haunted me. I kept the screenshot. I couldn't bear to delete it because it felt like proof that someone could be that hateful toward my mom. I didn't know it then, but that screenshot would later become the reason I would cut my dad out of my life. 3 years later, when I was 17, Dad started acting different, happier. I wanted to be happy for him at first. I thought maybe he was finally starting to heal. But then one day, over dinner, he said he wanted to tell me something important. I'll never forget it. We were sitting at the table, eating pasta. He cleared his throat, smiled a little, and said, "Sweetheart, I've been seeing someone. Her name's Dora." At first, I laughed. I genuinely thought he was joking. But he kept talking and my heart just dropped. "I know what you're thinking," he said quickly, "but she's not who you think she is." We ran into each other at a coffee shop a few months ago. We talked, and I realized I might have misjudged her. She's been through a lot too. We just connected. I couldn't breathe. I just stared at him. I remember saying, "You mean Mom's Dora? The same Dora who wrote that she hoped Mom would rot in hell." He sighed, rubbed his temples, and said, "She regrets that. She said it was a moment of anger, and she's sorry." I stood up and said, "No, she's not sorry. She's evil." Dad told me not to dehumanize her. He said grief makes people say terrible things. That she had a different side to her, one he'd come to know. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. This woman, the one who tormented my mother, who publicly celebrated her death, was now sitting across from my dad in coffee shops, making him laugh. She was sleeping in the bed my mom used to cry in during chemo. And now she was supposed to be family? He begged me to meet her. Said she was really trying. He said, please, for me, give her a chance. You don't have to love her, but don't shut me out. I didn't want to, but I loved my dad. He was all I had left. So I agreed to one lunch. When I got there, Dora greeted me with this fake, sugary smile and actually opened her arms to hug me. I stepped back and said, coldly, don't ever touch me. Her smile faltered. Dad immediately jumped in, embarrassed, telling me to be polite. I said, polite? To the woman who wished Mom dead? You think I can just forget that? Dora had the nerve to look hurt. She said, I didn't mean it. Your mom and I had our differences, but she was a good woman. I was just angry. I said, angry people say mean things. Monsters say what you said. My dad told me to stop it, that I was being cruel and unfair. I told him if he was capable of loving someone like her, then I didn't know who he was anymore. I told him, it's her or me. He looked heartbroken and said, I won't choose.
So I did.
I walked out of that restaurant, packed my things that night, and went to live with my aunt, my mom's sister. My aunt cried when I told her what happened. She said she wasn't surprised. She said she'd heard rumors that Dora had always been jealous of my mom and that it made her sick to think my dad could do this. My dad called and texted for weeks. He showed up at my aunt's house once, and I refused to come out. I blocked his number. Eventually, he stopped trying. Years went by. I finished school, went to college, got engaged. I built a new life, one where my mom's memory was still alive, through me. My dad wasn't in that life anymore. Then, recently, my grandfather, my dad's dad, reached out. I answered because I missed him. We've always been close. But a few weeks later, I started getting texts from my dad again. He said things like, I heard you're getting married. I'd love to walk you down the aisle. I've missed you so much. Please, let's meet. I want you to know Dora's changed. I blocked that number too. When I visited my grandparents last weekend, my grandma asked why I hadn't given my dad another chance. She said, sweetheart, it's been years. He's still your father. You're both older now. Isn't it time to forgive? I told her there's nothing to forgive. I just don't want that man in my life anymore. I said, he made his choice the moment he married the woman who spat on my mother's grave. Grandma said, that's such a cold thing to say. He lost your mother too, you know. He needed love, and Dora was there. You can't punish him for finding happiness. I said, happiness built on disrespect isn't love. It's betrayal. She shook her head and said, you'll regret this when he's gone. But I won't. I know I won't. Because when someone shows you how little your pain matters to them, how little your mother's memory means, you stop giving them the power to hurt you again.
So yeah,
I'm getting married soon. My dad won't be there. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Because every time I picture him standing there, the man who chose her, it feels wrong. My wedding day should be about love, loyalty, and the people who've always protected me. He's not one of them anymore. Am I the a-hole? Because I don't feel guilty. Not even a little. But maybe that makes me cold. Or maybe it just means I finally learned how to protect myself.